What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Two-Wheeled Rider YouTube channel. My name is Mario Orsini, and in today's video, we're going to talk about riding your motorcycle on the Dalton Highway. All right, so I've got this broken out into like 8 different tips, I guess is what you want to call it, or at least 8 different things I want to share. And the first one is be prepared. The Dalton Highway is 414 miles in length. Only about 120 of that is paved. I would say the pavement section is probably worse than the dirt and gravel sections in some areas just because of the potholes. But be prepared. And what I mean by that is be physically prepared for what you're about to go through, but also make sure your bike's prepared. Go over everything on it. Make sure there's not anything that's going to wear out. There's not anything that's going to break in the middle of it. Be as prepared as possible. Take spare parts if you need them, and then make sure you have the necessary tools, but more importantly, the necessary know-how to fix anything or repair anything along the way should something go wrong. Because that last stretch from Coldfoot up to Dead Horse or Prudhoe Bay, or whatever you want to call it, 240 miles, and there's no help in between, so be prepared. Number 2, plan ahead. I'm one of those guys that on a motorcycle trip, I normally book a hotel day of. I'm not a camping guy, as many of you know, but in this case, book things a few days out, and there's a few reasons for that. One, if you're planning on staying in Coldfoot, there's only one place to stay. It's recommended you book that a few days out. I think I did it about 3 days out once I realized I was going to be, I was running on schedule. Dead Horse, there's actually more places to stay up there, but I still wouldn't wait too late to book anything, maybe a couple days out for that. But if you're going to take the Arctic Ocean tour, you have no choice but to book it at least 24 hours in advance of your tour time. And the reason for that is they're going to ask you for some identification, like driver's license, name, a little bit of personally identifiable information. And the reason is they've got to run that through the security of the oil field there in order to get pre-approval for you to go through. So if you just show up day of, you're going to miss the Arctic Ocean tour. So if you're planning on staying in a hotel along the way on the Dalton, and you're planning on doing that Arctic Ocean tour, make sure you plan ahead. Next up, road construction. Just plan on it. It's going to happen. You're probably not riding your motorcycle up there in the wintertime. You're probably riding it up there in the late spring, summertime. That's road construction time up in Alaska, and really, the northwestern part of Canada too. That's when they're able to work on those things. Some of those sections are pretty long. I think the longest one we faced was like 16 miles. You're going to face multiple. Just be prepared. You're going to have to wait around a little while, and if you don't have a net for your hat or whatever, just be prepared for big bugs. You're going to see them. Next thing, this is a safety thing. Only pull over in areas where there are actual pullovers. You're not going to see a whole lot of traffic out on the Dalton. At the same time, it's not safe if you don't have a pullover to just stop alongside the road. You do have 18-wheelers going up and down that thing. And, especially, even if they can see far enough ahead, like the road's not very wide in some places. Just there are pullover spots. Just make sure you use one of those, especially if you're on a motorcycle. Number 5, ride a BMW GS. I know it's a weird thing for a KTM guy to say. Here's the reason I say that. If you know how the forks are made on a BMW GS, I say forks, it's got that, telescopic front end on whatever. The female end of the fork is very, very long, and the chances of you getting dirt up top there are slim to none. Where on a traditional motorcycle, be it a traditional front fork or an upside-down front fork like we were running on our bikes, they're a little more susceptible to dirt, mud, debris, that sort of thing. And I'm just joking. You don't have to ride a BMW. But what I would say is keep an eye on your forks when you stop. You might, depending on road conditions and weather conditions, you might start to get some dirt built up onto the inner fork tube. And if that happens, you can get dirt up in between the seal, and your seals are going to leak like ours did. Also, clean up around the dust boot whenever you get the opportunity to. I'm not saying you got to pull over every 5 miles. I'm just saying keep an eye on it, and chances are your seals aren't going to leak. Also, the dirt up there it's a special kind of dirt that just kind of collects, and it's grimy, and they treat it with some sort of calcium chloride or something in some areas. it's just nasty stuff. So when you do get back to civilization, clean those things off so you don't damage the bike. But also, it just it sticks more than a lot of dirt does, especially if you get in a little bit of mud. And like I said, just keep an eye on your fork seals. An adventure bike or dirt bike helmet is actually not a bad idea. Now, we wore touring helmets. My sister was wearing a Shoei RF. I don't know which one she's wearing. I'm wearing the new 1400. They're basically the same. Hers is just the previous generation. They worked fine. However, at the speed you ride and stuff, you might want to pop your visor open, even if you're wearing sunglasses. And then you start to get a lot of dust and stuff up in there, which just makes it a little hard to see. Where if you were wearing an ADV helmet or a dirt bike helmet and you had goggles, whether you wore them with tear-offs or you wore them with roll-offs, or maybe you don't wear them with anything, you just wipe the goggle off, a little bit better visibility and a little bit less maintenance, so to speak. But touring helmet's fine. It's just, ADV or dirt bike helmet. If you're thinking about wearing one, there's no reason not to. But for the rest of the riding we did, I still preferred my touring helmet. Next thing, and you guys have all read this or heard this before. Oh, the trucks are going to run you over. They're flying down the road and they're throwing up dirt and gravel and rocks. It's not that bad. I mean, it's really not. The one thing you're going to notice, the worst part is when you're heading north and they're heading south or vice versa. They're going to throw some dust up. Whoop-dee. I would hear it. Just make sure you got your visor closed, assuming you have one on your helmet. You will hear a couple little rocks or gravel or whatever bounce off of it, but it's not that bad. Also, I guess it depends on what speed you're riding. I was never the prey of the big trucks. I was always the predator. I passed them, not the other way around. So I don't know. I thought that was kind of overblown. I kept waiting. When we first got on the road, I kept looking behind me. Like, there's a big truck coming, big truck. No, we're going faster than they're going, so no big deal. Next part might be a little controversial, but the Dalton's not tough to ride. It's a road. It's a dirt road, and some of it's even paved. It's not that hard to ride. However, I will say this. It should still be respected because you are in a very, very remote area, easily one of the most remote areas in North America. And should you have an issue or should you crash your bike or should you injure yourself, it's going to be a long, long time until help arrives. That being said, I didn't find anything challenging about it at all other than it's a long distance to go between stops. That's about it. So, my sister isn't nearly as experienced riding off-road or riding off pavement. I don't even call it off-road, off pavement as I am. She had absolutely zero trouble on a borrowed motorcycle. So, just awesome ride, not difficult. So if you're worried about, I think this is going to be too challenging for me, if you can ride a motorcycle, you should be okay. Now, your speed may vary a little bit on what you're doing, but I will say this. Weather can change things. We did get in some rain. We did get into some mud. Does it make it more difficult? Sure. Does it make it difficult? Not really. You can paddle your way through it. You're not on a trail. You're not on single track. You're not on the side of a mountain or a cliff or anything. You're on a road. So don't really see any reason why anyone couldn't finish it. I'll be honest with you. You could throw me on a full bagger or a sport touring bike, street tires. Maybe not slicks, but street tires, I can make it up and back. And I know plenty of other guys could too without any issue. Would it be fun? Absolutely not. It's way more fun on the adventure bike with the suspension travel and, the little bit more plush suspension and, everything that comes along with that. But there's no reason you can't make it on just about any motorcycle. Also, the speed limit on the road is 50 miles an hour. Just to give you some perspective of how, quote unquote, difficult it is, including the construction zones, which probably made up 15% of our ride, at least from Dead Horse all the way back to Fairbanks that day, including the times I had to follow the pilot vehicle, which was anywhere between like 8 miles an hour and 18 to 20 miles an hour. My average speed back to Fairbanks was 48 miles an hour. And that included, on that day it actually rained. So that was the more difficult of the 2 days. So fun road, something definitely cool that, if it's something you're interested in, you should go do. But you shouldn't be scared of it. You just need to be prepared. So anyway, those are my thoughts and some tips on riding the Dalton Highway. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, considering that subscribe button, because if you like motorcycles, well, this is the place to be. If you have any additional questions, maybe something I didn't cover, let me know down in the comments section below. I'll do my best to answer them. And as always, I'll talk to you again soon.